Hello, everybody, and welcome to She Fan Pro's Empowered Women. Here we are again with a fabulous guest speaker. I've had the pleasure of speaking with David Pugh on a couple of occasions on a one-to-one basis. And, you know, you're just amazing, David. I love what you've got to say, and I love your knowledge and your expertise, your experience, you know, and your character. You're a lovely, lovely man, really lovely man. And, you know, on that basis, I'm just absolutely delighted and honoured to have you here with us today, David. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're keeping well in these difficult times that we're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, I'm keeping well. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. I've got a few things to talk about. I've got a little presentation which hopefully the screen share will work, because otherwise it's going to be a bit of a disaster, but we'll test that in a sec. But yeah, no, I'm keeping well. I've avoided COVID and everything. I mean, I've been exposed to it, but I've never actually caught it, so I think I'm all right.
Yeah, that's really good, because seems to be everywhere again at the moment, doesn't it? So you know, yeah. It's about keeping safe, but remembering, you know, about our well-being and you know, and making sure that we do see our loved ones and we do, you know, have our social interaction, because it's so important, isn't it? It can't all be about work. It has to be about a bit of play as well, but doing it in a safe way. And on that cautionary note, words of wisdom, I'm going to hand over to you, David. You can take it away. I've made you the host, so please do take it away. Thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Enter full screen. So, is that working? Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm going to be talking about packaging. Now, this seems to be quite a confusing subject, because a lot of people think of packaging as this. Now, I'm going to talk about packaging in a different context, but just to kick off, just traditionally about packaging. If you were to see two products in a supermarket shelf, for example, now here I've got the example of coffee, because I've done a lot of work in coffee and coffee packaging myself. But if you look at these two products on a shelf, you would probably pay more for the coffee on the left than the coffee on the right. Now, why is that? They could be, let's just pretend they're the exact same beans in the packet. The coffee on the left looks high quality. It's got artwork done beautifully. It's got gold foiling. It's got great branding. It's got great visual appeal to it. Whereas the one on the right is just like a brown bag. Now, the funny thing is that your perception of the value of it goes up. Now, the other thing is that if you had a cup of coffee of these two packets, your brain would probably actually trick you into thinking that the coffee on the left tasted better than the coffee on the right, which is a kind of weird phenomenon about the way our brains are sort of connected to the visual appeal, and we sort of convince ourselves of the quality of something. So really, that's the premise of this whole talk, that the power of packaging can actually determine something's value. And this doesn't just apply to products, food products, or any sort of physical items, but also services, goods, and sort of expertise as well. So a little bit about me. Who am I? My name is David Pugh. I'm a graphic designer, creative artist, digital artist, branding expert. I've been working for 15 years. I'll talk a little bit about my career. Between 1999 and 2002, I qualified with BA Digital Media Arts at Hertfordshire University. I then got my first graphic design job after quite a bit of trying, I have to say, but I got my first job in the health, foods and sports nutrition sectors, where I was doing a lot of advertising for products like whey proteins, and I actually got my first printed ad in Flex magazine. I don't know if you know Flex magazine, but it's like a bodybuilders magazine. So every time I got an article published, they used to like keep the magazine. So I actually had a pile of bodybuilding magazines in my room, which is quite weird. But for me, it was like, there's my advert, I'm famous, you know. In 2005, I actually quit working for a bit and went on tour playing music around Europe. Played in Belgium, Germany, France, Denmark, Italy. So we spent a bit of time doing that, and but actually it's very, very tough trying to be a professional musician. It just kind of kills the love of music, and I wanted to keep the love of music. But you know, I always loved working creatively in design. So I went back to England. I got another job with a company called the Team Building Company. So they do corporate events. So a lot of like big companies, a lot of oil companies, a lot of tech companies. I was working on the website. I was working on creative ideas for team building events and how to market them. And also the website of the Team Building Company is actually teambuilding.co.uk, and that kind of stuck with me because what part of the work I was doing with them is to get SEO, search engine optimization, right, and try and get them ranking highly in Google. So I learned quite a lot about that. So in 2007, I stopped working for companies and I set up my own company, Freelance Graphic Designer Limited. But the main reason I called it that is because I was able to get the domain name freelancegraphicdesigner.co.uk, and that made a really big difference because actually it was owned by another company that literally wrote on the website, I'm only using this domain name as a search engine optimization experiment. So I thought, I wonder if they will renew that when it runs out. And lo and behold, I knew the exact date when it was going to either be renewed or not be renewed, and it wasn't. And I was straight in there and I bought it for £5. And since then, I've probably done, you know, multiple hundreds of thousands in revenue just through that domain name because people were coming and finding me through that domain name. Now, in 2008, I moved from Bournemouth to London, and it was basically the time where I'd quit my job, which was a normal job, and I went to London. And I don't know if you remember this, but in 2008 there was a big financial crash, and I was there in London with sort of no job, and a website that I just barely got off the ground, and I just ran out of money like that. I went into a bit of trouble, not trouble, but I had to sort of ask my brother for a bit of money to pay my rent. But I managed to get out of that little hole. I was working quite well, and I started, after I put a little bit of work into the SEO of freelancegraphicdesigner.co.uk, it started getting hits. Now, the other thing with 2008 is that a lot of big companies were then looking to get freelancers involved instead of big agencies. So I was actually picking up some good projects, even though I'd not been that experienced, but they were actually looking to get more just to save money. So freelance graphic designer and freelance graphic designer London were terms that I got a lot of traction for. So I managed to build up a career over, I'm still doing it now, but like it was actually quite a good time to do it. And the other thing is that people were losing their jobs and they were setting up businesses. So they're also looking for freelance graphic designers like me to help them set up companies and start the branding and all that sort of stuff. Then this year, in 2021, for the last 6 months, I got myself a business coach and was working quite intensively with him. And I set up the brand Scrub the Deck. Now, this brand is, I went from basically freelance graphic designer, which was a very, very generic catch-all, whatever the project was, I tend to do it, which was good in some ways because I got a lot of experience in a lot of industries, but it wasn't very specific, it wasn't very niche. So I wanted to be more focused and work out what the most valuable problem I could solve was with my skill set and my background. And for me, I did a lot of work creating decks. Now, a deck is like a series of slides, very much like this, but to present an idea or to present a business or to sell a product. So I kind of came up with the name Scrub the Deck. And I was also looking at the specific industries of blockchain and tech because they were growing very fast and there's a lot of high demand. And I basically sort of employed this system of packaging, which I'll go into through this talk. And one of the key components being the deck of slides. But as we'll go through, I'll sort of talk to you about all the different key fundamentals of packaging that I learned. But that's something that's consistently evolving now, and is the brand that I'm running at the moment, Scrub the Deck, and it's scrubthedeck.com, which I'll reference to later. So I'll just go through a few projects. This is basically through my career as freelance graphic designer. These are projects I did in the sports arena. So Mercedes F1, tie-break 10s, that advert was actually on Madison Square Gardens, and I had a photo of it on, as you can see it on my website, like, you know, I wasn't there, but someone took a photo of it like on Madison Square Gardens for this tournament, which had all these top players in it. But also I've worked for Adidas Golf Breaks. Glasgow Clan ice hockey team is actually a new ice hockey team that I invented the branding and identity for. Also worked for British athletics team and the Ashes. That's in the area of sport. In the area of media and television, MTV, I created this brand for a program there. BBC Worldwide, I got involved with a lot of packaging and presentations for selling BBC projects around the world. So one of them would be Strictly Come Dancing, which the global brand is Dancing with the Stars. So they working out a presentation and a sort of packaging deck, which was actually an interactive presentation to then sell to other networks around the world, because the BBC make much more money from exporting programs than they do from the license payer. I also did some stuff for Alan Partridge, merchandising and Together TV. So that's in the media industry. In the luxury space, I find that the branding, packaging, visual presentation has so much more of an impact, because no one's going to pay premium prices for something that doesn't look good. So in this area, I've worked for brands like Hilton. That project there's an interactive advent calendar. Ginetti Yachts is a brand that I developed the visual identity for. Diriyah is the Saudi Palace. Saudi Airlines, Royal Chelsea Flower Show, Aston Martin. So there's quite a lot of luxury brands I've worked for. In the area of food, I've worked with Estrella Damm. Jaramillo Cafe is a brand that I've created as well, got trademarked. They're now an international selling company. Jim Beam, Kellogg's, Blackfire Tequila, Wingstop, Lipton Iced Tea. I've worked for all those. And then in the area of tech, which I now am sort of focused on now, Cisco Systems, Trustology, a lot of these companies you might not have heard of, but they're in the blockchain space. Proactive NetApp are IT companies. But aside from that, as I said, the big brand stuff is one thing, but also, you know, I've worked with so many startups, and I've helped to create brands and market them and make them look good and make them look high value, you know, starting from nothing. So these are just an example here. So what I've done there is I've now packaged myself. So you can sort of see now that now with the rest of my talk, you might like listen a bit more. He's done quite a few things. So there's a bit of packaging on myself. Now I'm going to go into some of the key rules that I've sort of learnt, and I talk to my clients about in the area of packaging. And rule number one is the most powerful, and each rule relies on the one before it. And rule number one is that you must have an amazing idea. So a little bit of a Fight Club reference here. Are you a beautiful or unique snowflake? What can you deliver that no one else can? Can you communicate that you're a one-off? Now, here's two schools of thought. On the left, my ideas are the best. On the right, my customers' ideas. My customers have the best ideas. So what tends to happen, what I've noticed with a lot of kind of amateur people that kind of think they're entrepreneurs, and, you know, I think we've all been guilty of this. I have, you know, you come up with an idea, you think, oh, I'm going to do this idea. This is a brilliant idea. You're completely in your own head. You maybe go on to like Word and find the first font and go, yeah, that's my brand. You think of a name. Oh, I'm going to call it the initials of my kids, you know, something like that. That's my company. That's my brand. It's the best idea. I'm going to spend a load of money on a website and get it out there. And you find that no one likes it. No one gets it. You don't make any money. And a lot of people just quit at that point. That's one way of doing it. And I've seen that happen many, many times. I've had many clients in that position. If you look at the other side of it, a good way to start a business is to just get a clipboard. Don't do anything else but get a clipboard and just talk to people. talk to people who are your customers, talk to people who are potentially your customers, let them come up with the idea, let them say the problems they're having, and listen for the same things over and over again, and then develop a product which solves those problems. Right? That's all you need to do. This is a great phrase. Just start with this. I know nothing. Go to the market, talk to them. Now, when you do have an idea, this is something to think about. Do what the airlines do. What do the airlines do? When they promote themselves, do they talk about how comfy their seats are, how fast their aeroplanes are? I don't know, their service on their airlines, blah, blah, blah. They don't talk about any of that. They talk about this. They put you in the holiday. They don't put you on the plane. And this is a really important thing to do when you're selling a product or a service. Focus on the result. Focus on the result that the customers are getting, the destination, not the journey. Is your idea protected? Now, if you think of your idea as a castle surrounded by a great big moat, the moat is the protection. So how can you protect your idea? Is it something that someone else can easily come up with? That's the first thing. Is it gonna cost them millions of pounds to get to the same place you are? Do they have the same team as you? Do they have the same experience, the background? All of these things are layers of protection around your idea, and you need to have as many of those as possible. And it's good to communicate that. But if you're in a space where no one else is competing, you're in a very strong position. So this is rule number 2. If your idea is in a competitive space, then you must have an amazing brand. That the brand is going to make the difference in a competitive space. So I'm going to have a look at 2 examples here. So we've got the Google brand, logo, identity, whatever you want to call it, visual identity of Google. Now, I know that they've updated it recently, but I wanted to use this version because this is the one that they kind of started with and got the sort of mass exposure to. Now, on the left, you've got a brand. Now, if you were to erase my memory of anything to do with Google and put that in front of me and say, there you go, there's the biggest tech company of all time, I would laugh. I would say there's no way that that logo makes any sense in that space. The fonts and the colors are just laughable. It's an awful example of branding. You've got these kind of serifs, the little lines on the end of the text is sort of kind of an old-fashioned, like it reminds you of like a typewriter basically. So it doesn't look modern. The colors are awful, garish, and yet this company, multiple billions. And I know they've only recently rebranded. They've kept the colors and they've changed the font to a more modern font, but that's the brand that people are exposed to. But the point is, the fact is that, you know, Google as a brand and as a service was so groundbreaking and so good that the branding made no difference to them whatsoever. You know, if you look at the competitors at that time, and I'm talking about 2000 to sort of 2005, whatever, or even less than that, that they kind of demolished people like Ask Jeeves and Yahoo, who basically had better branding, but the product was so good that they didn't need it. Now, let's look at another extreme, Innocent Smoothies. Now, Innocent Smoothies is probably the least innovative product you'll ever see. It's basically fruit and water blended and put in a bottle. That's it. That's the product. There's nothing more to it than that. And yet recently Coca-Cola bought it for, I think it was 300+ million pounds. Now, Coca-Cola, with all their manufacturing power and knowledge, they can easily put fruit and water in a bottle. They didn't need to spend that on Innocent. But the point is, Innocent had the branding. You know, the brand that Innocent had is connecting with people. They see it, I mean, it's so clean and so pure, and it's a beautiful example of branding, you know, and it just shows that, you know, these 2 extremes, one of them no innovation, one of them massive innovation. The brand is just epically much more important and powerful, and you can sell it for huge amounts of money if you have that market adoption. So when you're creating a product, service, whatever, the first thing you need to think about is a name. Going back to that example earlier, a lot of people, they think of the first name that comes into their head. They might do a little bit of research on it. Basically, they choose a name because they like it. But that's okay. But the thing you need to be wary of is trademarks. Now, what I talk to my clients about, and I've had it a few times, they've come to me with a brand name, and the very first thing I go to is I go to the Intellectual Property Office. If you have a look at the URL at the bottom there, trademarks.ipo.gov.uk, write that down, because that's a way of searching your product name. And what you can do is you can search it, and then you can put in the classification of business that you're in. For example, you can have two names that are the same, but they're in different classifications. Like, for example, Flash was a software product, but it's also a cleaning product. They can both exist because they're not in the same classification. So the best thing you can do is put your company name into there and see if anything comes up in your classification. If it doesn't, I highly recommend actually purchasing the trademark. It can be done fairly cheaply. I think you can get it for about 200 something pounds. It was last time, or maybe a bit more these days. You can spend more if you want to get lawyers involved and really robustly trademark it. But the best way to do it is just to do that, pay for the trademark. And what will happen is, as you do business and as your business grows, the trademark name itself is something that you own officially, legally, and that will grow in value as your business grows in value. So it becomes an asset. So if you sell your company, you're selling it with that asset attached. And if you look at the flip side of it, which I've heard quite a few times, is that people, once they get a bit of success and a bit of traction and they start selling products, and they haven't done this, someone will come along somewhere and go, whoa, what are you doing? That's my trademark. You need to pay me XXX, often a 5-figure sum, and you have to change your name. So, it's really a no-brainer. Get onto that, get your trademark registered. Now, I've talked about branding, but I've done a lot of talks on branding. Luckily, I had one of them kind of professionally filmed. And if you go to this URL, I'll talk a lot more in depth about branding. I'll talk about how you create emotional connections with your brand. I'll also talk about the creative process that you can go through to create your own brand, or to sort of research your own brand. So please have a look at this site. There's a few short videos on there of me talking about branding, and that will sort of fill in the gaps that I'm not going to talk about here. So I've got the third rule I've got here is the harnessing the power of video. 2 pieces of content, again, left and right. Are you going to read that, or are you going to click on the video link? For me, I've put my hands up. I'm lazy. I don't read stuff often, especially on screen. It can be quite tiring. When I see, big blocks of text, I often just skim through it. You'll maybe pick out a few key words. You might pick out the words in bold. That's it. Whereas video, you sit back, click. You've got sound. You've got visual. You can put the branding colors, your brand identity. You can animate your logo. You can make it very engaging. You can make it very emotionally connecting as well with the video. So I would advise, if you can get video content rather than text, it's powerful, it's more engaging. So one of the types of video that I help to create with people is explainer videos. These are quite powerful in the tech space, because a lot of the time there's, obviously a lot of technical language. It's hard to understand. And what I help my clients to do is, because I'm an outsider, I can think of it more like a customer might do, because I'm seeing it for the first time. So I can sort of hack away a lot of this sort of jargon and try and get, like we're talking about the beach, try and get them to the beach rather than being sat on the plane. So explainer videos, I've got a couple of examples. I won't go too far into this, but this kind of thing, animation, graphs, infographics, again, just like highlighting and talking about the product, its benefits in an engaging way, animation, logos. Another quite a good one is just to record yourself talking and either commission this kind of thing, you know, like I think you've seen these quite a lot, you know, so you're talking over it and someone's drawing it. Again, it doesn't have to be that complicated, but it's much more engaging, you know. And when you've got the personality of the voice involved as well, it becomes more human and connecting. So those are two good examples of explainer videos. Back. So for me, I'd like to share with you the most powerful video content of all, and that's these video testimonials. Again, going back to the themes earlier, talk to your clients, but when your clients can be the very best salespeople for your business, you know, what they will say, having a screen like this of videos of people talking about what great results they got from your product or service, there's no better sales pitch at all. You know, you can talk to your blue in your face about how great you are, but no one really listens to you. Like, if you get the customers to do it, they do listen. So these, you know, all these videos, they become your sales agents. And you know what, they're actually pretty easy to do as well. One of the things I learned, or a good technique to do, is just to call up your clients on Zoom or Skype or whatever, and record it, and just have a conversation with them. Don't even have a script. Just let them talk. What they say can't be scripted. You know, they will say stuff that you haven't even thought of. And the other thing is that they can say stuff that can become campaigns. They can become themes of products and benefits that you haven't even thought of, and you can use those to promote and to sell to other people. So really, the video testimonials are absolutely huge. On my site, scrubthedeck.com, I've got the same, exactly what I'm talking about, as a chat with the guy that I did the BBC projects for, a chat that I did some luxury property branding for, chat that I'd worked with a woman on Disney and other luxury projects. And then I've got the owner of Ginetti Custom Yachts. So it's just, there's lots of talks, me and the client. And then I've also attached all my Google reviews, you know, so this sort of stuff, you can't fake this sort of stuff. It's absolutely genuine. It just adds to your reputation. And you don't really need to say how great you are if other people are talking about how great you are. Go back. Let's have a look then. So rule 4, I'm talking about making your online presence epic. So this really comes down to the website. Now, the website, you can invest a lot of money in the website, or you can do it fairly cheaply. What I would say is that you can use the website as a vehicle for your brand, which means you can enhance the brand. So your logo design, your colors, your language, your brand tone of voice, which is a thing that we always hear about, tone of voice, the way you talk to your clients, that can all be put into the website. But also you can use it as a home for your video content. Now, you'll see sometimes that people just have, you could have the simplest website with your branding and a page of customers going crazy about your product, and that is probably one of the best sites you'll get. You know, like that will do so much better than a site where you've written, you know, hours, days and days spent written text and images. You know, just one page with the video content of your customers talking about how great you are is good enough. So it's a home to your video content, home to your video explainers. Obviously, if you upload a video and you put it online, you know, you don't really have an accessible URL for that. You know, you can paste a link, but if you have, you know, for example, scrubthedeck.com/branding, I can now put all my branding videos on one page rather than giving them the URL for each individual video. So an opportunity to add wow factor. Now, the thing that you can do with websites that you can't do in any other media is you can do kind of interactive stuff. Now, I've got a few examples here. This is the Greta, is called the Year of Greta website. Now, you've got like this timeline here, which is something I've not seen before. It's fully interactive, so it's 3D, it's interactive. And if you look at the top, you've got January to December, and you can scroll and you can see what's been happening. And if you keep scrolling, you can go through the year. You can see January going through to December there. And each bits of these contents of videos, you can play the video. And you can scroll, and it's just an incredible visual experience. It's like it's a timeline, but it's something, you know, quite amazing that you couldn't do in any other media, really. This is another phenomenal one that I've seen. So this is a website, it's called illusion.co. Again, you've got this interactive light which shines on the background. So their brand premise is realize your creative ideas, rebuild epic real-time interactive experiences that blow people's minds. So if you're saying that, you also need a website that's going to blow people's minds. And for me, this one does. It's like every page has got this, you know, I'm moving the mouse and it's moving the background. It's absolutely incredible. Like the lighting on the model is shining. Each section of the website is interactive, and it makes you engage with it more. It makes you stick on it, but it also makes you think, well, who's this company? This company's phenomenal. Like they can do this online. What can they do for me? Here's another one. Again, this is in blockchain tech space. Phenomenal 3D graphics, but they also highlight the brand. Each statement comes to life, it engages you. Again, it's got that wow factor. So that's what you can really do with a website that you can't do in anything else, really. Obviously, information on your idea. I would say, you know, have it in text, but make it engaging, use infographics, use video, have downloadable PDFs people can take away. This is quite important. You can talk about your team, and you can talk about the synergy of the team. Now, the synergy is something that, you know, you kind of get this phenomenon where you have maybe two people that have synergy. It's sort of like, instead of A plus B, you've got A multiplied by B. So say you've got one person that's highly creative, one person that's highly technical. Combining those skills, you're going to get these amazing things. This is what I want to do with Scrub the Deck. I wanted to connect with people who are highly technical and give my creative expertise, because I'm not really that technical. but I'm creative. So the synergy of the team is something, again, that comes back to sort of the uniqueness of the company. You know, other people won't have those expertise. Other people won't have that mixed with that, you know. So that's something you can communicate. And again, you can use video to do that. It doesn't have to be just a photo and text. You can do it in a video format. Reputation, again, video testimonials, Google reviews, case studies. It's kind of that thing about the destination, really, just sort of how did you get the client to that position? If you can do it for them, you can do it for you as well. Obviously, point of contact goes without saying. Point of sale, you know, you don't have to have a physical shop. You can sell stuff online. People have been doing it for 20 years. Now, the other thing, online presence, social media. I'm not going to go too much into this. All I would say is that a lot of people think that you have to be on all of these platforms, and you absolutely don't. For me, I personally pretty much only use LinkedIn, and I've put all my energy there because that's where my clients are. Some people would focus just on YouTube, some people would just focus on Facebook. Each social media platform has its own benefits, and it really depends on the customer. Again, listen to your customers, see what platforms they're using, use it as a chance to engage with them. So in summary, just to wrap things up, idea is everything. Your customers and clients have the best ideas, not you. Good branding is vital in a competitive space. That can make the difference. Trademark your name to make it an asset. Video will get you market adoption, let people understand your product and engage with it more. Nothing sells more than video testimonials. Your video testimonials are your best sales agents. Website can enhance the brand. and invest your time in the right social media package. And that's it. These are my contact details. If you want to get in touch, you can go to scrubthedeck.com. You can email me. You can book a call with me, and I'll have a chat about your project. And that's all from me.
Wow. Thank you very much. That was absolutely outstanding. So informative, engaging, interesting. Just that presentation alone, you know, just this today shows me and anybody else that's watching that you know your stuff and you're blooming good at it. I mean, honestly, just absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. And what an impressive, you know, background and the things that you do. I just love how you know, had it all simplified in your decks. I mean, you are the expert in this area, aren't you? And you just demonstrated that beautifully. And I was just hooked right from the start, right the way through.
Oh, good.
It was interesting, you know. I know some people, I've certainly had experiences in the past, you know, when you're presented with a bunch of decks or slides or PowerPoint, whatever you know, it's not always engaging, but yours really was. Yours really exemplifies the actual work that you do with your clients, you know, extremely well as well. It's just absolutely fabulous. Joanne,
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, definitely. I loved it. Brilliant. I learned so much as well. You think you sort of get it, you know, you think you know this and you know that, but it's great.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, one thing I hate when people are doing presentations is that they have a load of text on the screen and it's like you're trying to read it, you're trying to listen to them. I can't do two things at once.
Yeah, and then you end up missing it, don't you?
Simple.
Yeah, I've noticed that before historically. If I've been watching anything, you know, that like you say, you can't be reading and listening at the same time. You end up missing things invariably, don't you? Whereas yours was just brilliantly easy to follow, very relatable, understandable, interesting. It made sense, and I even learned something as well today. So thank you.
No worries.
A huge thank you. And I think you've already, you know, you've covered everything, but I think, you know, for anybody that's watching back on this recording, you know, we know how to contact David if you want to, you know, a chat about any needs that you might have, you know, any questions, whatever, or indeed if you want to engage in a piece of work with David, then obviously you know how to contact David, and I'm sure, you know, he'd be more than happy to help. He's a lovely, friendly, very, very helpful guy, very professional in my experience, and it's been a real pleasure every time we have a call. You know, it's been a real pleasure. I'm really glad that I've come to know you, David. It's a great honour, and I'm sure I'll be coming to you as well at some point for something. Okay. I'm sure you'll have me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, without further ado, I'd love to just thank you, David, so much for taking the time today. Time is our most precious commodity, isn't it? And you've taken the time today to join us and to, you know, help, you know, others. And I really, really appreciate that enormously. And I would love to have you back in 2022 sometime where you can share more of what you're doing. And, you know, it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that brand, Scrub the Deck, is evolving all the time. I wanted something that was kind of flexible. Again, just talking about how I listen to the reason it's come about is because I've just engaged in lots of conversations on LinkedIn, and I've found that it seems to be that a lot of people in the tech space are looking for investment. So that's why I've sort of tailored it to look like that. But there might be something even more valuable that come along, which I will then adapt to that. Yeah. So it might well be different as it evolves through the years.
Yeah, and you're quite right. You know, in that space there is an awful lot. Seems to be a real demand now, more than anything. You know, blockchain, the infrastructure, and everything. But you know, there's a big demand for the investment, and so that's where the decks, you know, the pitch decks and everything really come in. So and that's where, you know, you're going to be getting very, very busy. I'm expecting, if you're not extremely busy already. I think you are. So yeah, brilliant. Let's have a call anyway, David, when we can. We'll hop on a call sometime, probably in the new year, January time. But in the meantime, suffice to say, thank you from the very bottom of my heart for today. I really appreciate you taking this time, and that was brilliant. I'm going to watch the recording back myself now.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye everyone.